under 10.5 on the line.
You have to be the biggest, dumbest idiot.
Josh Allen inside the 10, inside 5, touchdown, game over.
Going into the draft, I was a big Penix guy. I'm still a big Penix guy. Rashee Rice is way ahead of schedule in his ACL rehab, which is good news for his fantasy managers because the Dallas court system is way behind schedule. That's also good news for local comedian Miles Francis. Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and today we are going to go over Superflex best ball strategy. It's a highly controversial topic on X for whatever reason right now in the best ball community. Everybody hates this new tournament with Superflex Incorporated. It's the only one that we've had this year so far. I'm all for it. I don't know why people are so upset about it. Maybe it's because they don't know the strategy. So let's get into it. All right. So I have entered a draft, and while it's getting filled up, let me tell you everything you need to know about this versus other best ball fantasy football drafts. There's not much different. Half point PPR still is the same. 4-point passing touchdown, 6-point rushing and receiving touchdown. All the scoring is virtually the same, yards and all that stuff. What you do need to know is there's a super flex position, and they took away one wide receiver spot and added a super flex. And that super flex, you can play any position, including tight ends, which isn't always the case in some fantasy football leagues. Actually, fun fact, the tight end position can be used for your flex spot as well. If you're using your tight end as your flex spot, you're probably not having a great season anyway, but that is something to keep in mind while you're doing these drafts. And just in time, this draft is starting. The real strategy behind this is you have to pray to be top 4 so you can get one of those top rushing quarterbacks, the proven guys, that is. I did not receive top 4. I'm actually drafting 11th in this one, so not a great draw, not a great start here to this draft, but that's okay because the point of this video is I want to teach y'all how to kind of go with the flow, because you do need to kind of go with the flow. You're not always going to get the best draft position. You're not always going to get the player that you want falling to you. So this will be a good one. After my personal opinion, you want to get Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts in that order if you have one of those top 4 picks. And if you don't, you're in trouble. That's okay. So I would recommend you at least try to get one share of each of these guys. I know not everybody has thousands of dollars of bankroll for these fantasy football drafts. So if you're only planning on doing 3 or 4, I would definitely recommend saving up your shekels so you can at least get one share of each of these guys before you complete your puppy butted super flex portfolio. Now, Joe Burrow is going 5 in certain situations. Usually Jamar Chase is going before him. I personally am not taking Joe Burrow in the first round at all because you're really passing up on some premium assets. Even if Saquon Barkley just did get the Madden cover, I still believe in him despite the curse. I also, by the way, do love Will Shipley this year. Okay, so I got Justin Jefferson, Patrick Mahomes, CeeDee Lamb, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and I'm going to take Justin Jefferson here. No-brainer for me. I don't know if I believe in J.J. McCarthy or not. In fact, I've not been drafting him a whole ton at his ADP, but doesn't matter for Justin Jefferson. He's always going to be successful because he's Justin freaking Jefferson. So getting him here at 11, the second receiver off the board, I'm very, very happy with it because he does have a wide receiver 1 ceiling. And I'm going to be forced into a pretty tough decision between Ashton Jeanty, Derrick Henry going running back and being more of a balanced start to this build, or just going all out on the wide receiver position. I think that's what I'm going to do with the selection of CeeDee Lamb. So no quarterback through the first 2 rounds. I'm not super concerned about it because the Bo Nix, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, I have them in the same exact tier as Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and Jared Goff are the 3 guys that I am hoping and praying fall to me at 35 or the 38 selection. Because Justin Fields is a pick you can make. I don't think no matter how good Justin Fields is, I don't think that offense is turning over overnight. So using a second round pick on that's pretty risky. And you did see Derrick Henry and Ashton Jeanty went right after my selection. I don't know if I'm going to be regretting that or not. I've been getting a lot of both of them, but I kind of want to just see how this one ends going double premium wide receiver first. And a lot of wide receivers are falling a lot in this draft. And the reason for that is because there's only 2 slots. But in reality, so in normal best ball, you have 3 wide receivers. In this, you have 2 slots, but you have a flex, and then you also have a super flex. So you can very easily start 3-4 wide receivers a week if you do use that super flex position for your wide receiver, which means you can pretty comfortably do a 1 QB build through the first 5 rounds or so. I have fallen victim to this strategy several times, so it's a risky situation, but if you're trying to do a best ball tournament, you really should just be shooting for the stars. You shouldn't be shooting for a B+ team. You should be shooting for an A+ team. So if that means you get sniped, you get sniped. Happens in regular best ball, happens probably even more in super flex, which maybe is a fair criticism as to why people hate it. So now you're seeing Kyler Murray go off the board, Patrick Mahomes go off the board. I get why you'd be drafting Kyler Murray there, just not my cup of tea. I think he's been pretty disappointing in his NFL career, so I'll probably be passing on him at that cost right there. So I have Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Brock Bowers, Justin Herbert, Drake May, Jonathan Taylor are the top 10 or so guys, and I am up in 7. There goes Brock Bowers. So you see these guys went super early. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and now he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks are the top ADP assets right now in this draft. So I'm not going to be a guy who is going to be in love with Brock Purdy this year. A lot of stuff changing over there. Maybe he'll make me look like an idiot. He's made a lot of people look like idiot being Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL. But I am going to stick with my guy, Jared Goff, who just got drafted, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. Herbert I actually have ranked ahead of all of them. And the guy around the turn took 2 quarterbacks, so I could theoretically get another one of those guys if they both do fall to me. So Brock Purdy off the board. Now these guys both went running back. Wow, running back. Interesting move. I actually honestly don't hate it. So I'm going to get one of these quarterbacks. The risk is going to pay off for me here around the corner here. Waiting on Oz. Jordan Love, guy I didn't want anyway. So that's good news. I think I'm going to take Justin Herbert here. So I do have one quarterback off the board. It's going to make my next decision very, very interesting because I like Dak Prescott, and I also think Drake May is not so bad. But I also love Bucky Irving and could use a running back. So maybe this guy around this corner is going to make my decision for me. He takes Bucky Irving, so that makes things a little bit easier for me. I could take Ladd, but I think in a super flex, since it fell to me, I am going to probably take, Dak Prescott here. And people forget. Dak Prescott, I think, is one of the best values in fantasy football right now. I get it. He had a disappointing end or an injury last season. He's getting a little bit older, so you're expecting these kind of soft tissue injuries to linger, but he's going to start this season 100% healthy. In 2023, people forget, he had 4,516 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and a bonus 242 on the ground. You know, probably those days are behind him with all the lower body injuries that he's had. But I've got Justin Herbert, who I absolutely love. I also love Trey Harris. So we'll be trying to snatch him much later on in this draft. And I love Dak Prescott, the situation he is in Dallas. So a little bit of a run on the following tier. I would consider this group of quarterbacks: Matt Stafford, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, all in the next tier. A tier I don't really mind getting, honestly. It's not like it's the end of the world if one of those guys falls to me instead of Dak Prescott. But I would consider Drake May, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert a big tier ahead of all those other guys. Now, going 3 quarterback early, like Turd Ferguson here did, great name. Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Drake May, great. I love it. Here's the bad news. you can only start 2 of those guys each week. So I get it. You're gonna stack up later on, and you kind of had to take quarterback there. But man, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Ladd McConkey, and Bucky Irving with Baker Mayfield and Bo Nix, I'm a lot happier there. Okay, so like I said, I can't take quarterback here. Quarterback is kind of off the board for me at the moment. And I don't have a running back yet. I have 2 wide receivers and 1 tight end. Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams, Amari, and Hampton Mike Evans. All kind of staring me in the eye. I also have George Kittle, who I absolutely love over there. I did go Justin Herbert, so for tiebreaker's sake, I might just go ahead and take Omari and Hampton with this pick. And then if Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, George Kittle, I'm going to have a tough decision here. So I got Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, George Kittle. I love George Kittle. I love George Kittle with a passion this year, and having who could be the number 1 tight end on a team that's going to need one, I'm going to take George Kittle there. So a very balanced build to start. I've got Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott as my flex, or as my QB and my super flex. I have Amari and Hampton as my 1 running back. I need at least 2 starting running backs every week. Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb are my wide receivers. That sounds pretty sweet, right? You're expecting those guys to average 17 points per game, which is what you would expect out of like a middle tier, like that CJ Stroud tier of quarterbacks in a 4-point passing league. And George Kittle, who has been electric, back-to-back 1,000-yard plus seasons, 6 touchdowns and 8 touchdowns coming off of last year. They just lost Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall. He's fine. Everyone's expecting him to be healthier, maybe better this year, not having getting shot in the preseason, which we don't know. We don't know for a fact that Ricky Pearsall isn't going to get shot again. So you can't exactly count that in, and I would actually count that for George Kittle because he doesn't have any shootings that I know of in his history for or against. So that's why I'm all the way in on George Kittle, not so much on Ricky Pearsall. No, but seriously, draft George Kittle. I think you're not going to regret it at all. And a guy who I think could be tight end 1 again. Okay, so I'm up in 10 picks, and now the quarterback position is totally dry. So right around this round of 6, you really want to try your best to get at least 1 quarterback. If you didn't snatch one, you are going to have to go Jackson Dart, and you're probably going to want 5-ish quarterbacks on your roster. Grab a couple of the Cleveland guys. My pick of the litter right now is Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel, because I think those 2 guys are going to start most of the games this season, barring injury. I think Jackson Dart's going to start eventually. I did previously do a Jackson Dart and then turned around. Russell Wilson fell to me, so I just took him there. So I'm guaranteed basically 1 starting quarterback each round. Doing pretty well. Alvin Kamara, James Conner would be the 2 main guys on my hit list. David Montgomery also sitting there for me if I need them. I have 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, so I need to fill my running back and my flex, essentially, my regular flex, not my super flex, before I start building depth. Ideally, you don't always have to do that. I could get Cortland Sutton here if he falls to me as well. I'm up in 5 picks. Xavier Worthy off the board. Interesting situation with Xavier Worthy. I am going to be a Rashee Rice truther after watching both play very closely over the past couple of years. I get it. Rashee Rice is coming off a bad knee injury, but in the short sample size that he had, he was an electric receiver for the Chiefs against some pretty good opponents. They played the Ravens. He had one of his best games, if I remember correctly, last season. I'm up next. Cortland Sutton, David Montgomery. I would probably prefer to take David here, but I'll be happy with Cortland. See what happens. So they both didn't get drafted. So I'm going to go ahead and take David Montgomery as my 2nd running back. High floor guy. He's going to get a bunch of touches. It's going to be a split backfield again this year. And if he stays healthy, he'll score another 24 touchdowns. I'm exaggerating. 12.5 touchdowns this year. And I'll be happy with him as my best ball RB2. And I'm going to fill up my flex spot here. I would be happy with Caleb Johnson, but I'm going to go ahead and take Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 1. clearly for Tennessee. And I've never been in on Calvin Ridley until this season. He's going 86 overall, obviously a lot cheaper than he used to back in the day. He had one breakout season before it kind of all fell apart for him. Maybe he's getting his shit together over the last couple of years. It's kind of appeared that he has. Maybe he's got a quarterback that can throw him the ball. I'm betting on Cam Ward being a serviceable quarterback this year. And if I'm drafting you at wide receiver 30 and you have a rookie quarterback, I feel like I can get a good shot at least getting a wide receiver 2, best case scenario, wide receiver 1 season, still out of Calvin Ridley. So my wide receiver room is absolutely stacked. 3 bona fide wide receiver 1s. I love wide receiver 1s. I think people get a little bit too much in the weeds with some guys. I'm always going to, if there's a true wide receiver 1 on the team, or if I can bet that someone's going to be a true wide receiver 1 on the team, I'm going to take him. And that's clearly what Calvin Ridley is, where I'm getting him right there. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, my first 2 wide receivers. Calvin Ridley is my third. So I absolutely love that. Amari and Hampton, David Montgomery are my 2 running backs. That's pretty good. That's pretty stable, solid situation. And Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, George Kittle, premium tight end with those premium wide receivers. So I'm feeling absolutely great. And it went so balanced. The way this draft went, it ended up so balanced for me. I can pretty much take the pick of the litter here as I'm sitting coming up here in 7 picks. Tony Pollard, Chris Godwin, Aaron Jones. I like Aaron Jones a lot. I also like Jordan Mason a lot. Someone's going to be running the football for Minnesota. I think it's going to be at least an average offense. I don't know if I'm sold on J.J. McCarthy, but I imagine he'll be checking down to Aaron Jones a lot. I don't think J.J. is going to be a mobile quarterback in the NFL, especially after his knee injuries. So I'd be happy to take him there. I'd also love, so Aaron Jones goes, but I also have, so right now I've got Chris Olave, Aaron Rodgers. No thanks for the situation I'm in right now for both of them, I think. But I got I'm going to hope and pray Jerry Jeudy. Talking about getting bona fide wide receiver 1s on your roster late in these drafts, having my first guy off the bench be Jerry Jeudy, the guy who's going to lead the Browns, probably going to have like 170 receptions this year, the way it was trending last year. And he did fall to me. Jerry Jeudy falls to me. Whew. And then I got Jordan Mason. So I can circle back around on that Minnesota backfield and take Jordan Mason, or I'm going to take Cam Skattebo. Skattebo. I hate his pronunciation of his last name. I say Skattebo. I still might say Skattebo. I do get accosted in the comment section regularly for saying Skattebo, but it sounds like a better name. That's how I would say it. You know, if you look back into the academic profile of Cam Skattebo, mine would be better. So there you go. I love Cam Skattebo. Jordan Mason, Cam. So I'm just going to err on the offense, who I think is going to be better, which is usually a pretty safe bet. That's clearly going to be the Minnesota Vikings. I think Cam is going to be the day 1 starter in New York, or it'll be like a 1A, 1B situation, and he'll eventually take over. But all the tea leaves, all the vibes coming out of training camp in New Jersey would indicate that Cam's going to be the next guy up. Interestingly enough, Tyrone Tracy does go before him in this draft, which is not the norm. Usually Cam goes before Tyrone. So there you go. By the way, he's probably not going to make it around to me, but I am going to mention Daniel Jones would be a pretty darn good steal, I would say, at quarterback 33. If you are desperate for a quarterback or you're looking for some quarterback depth, I'm definitely taking Daniel Jones because I think he's going to be the 17-game starter for the Indianapolis Colts. From everything we hear from even Pat McAfee, who's got all the numbers of all the trainers in the facility, with all the drama or the tragedy with Jim Irsay passing, I think there's going to be a lot of freedom and a lot of guys playing for their jobs this year. So they're not going to have a lot of oversight, and they're also going to say, screw it, I'm going to start the best guy. And I think that's going to be Daniel Jones. I really, truly believe that. He's looked like a NFL quarterback at times in his career, and the same could not be said for Anthony Richardson. When you look at a 3-game sample size, you have a whole season of Daniel Jones that was pretty darn serviceable. If you sold high on him in Dynasty Fantasy Football, you were pretty happy about it. So I think he's the starting quarterback there day 1. I am up in 7 picks. I love Jonnu Smith. So if he falls to me all the way where I'm drafting, I am going to go ahead and just take Jonnu. I don't really need him, but I think he's like my tight end 5 or 6 going into the season. There are some rumors that he got drafted, of course. There are some rumors that he's getting traded or whatever. I'm not buying that at all. I don't think that is true whatsoever. So I do have an opportunity here to take Evan Ingram as a tight end 2, but I did say I was going to take Trey Harris. So I am going to prioritize Trey over Evan. So I get the stack with Justin Herbert, but I'm just a believer in Trey Harris. All the reports, no surprise, are this guy is an absolute freak. Was the most efficient college receiver in NCAA last year and otherwise. And if he wasn't injured, I think he would have gotten picked like first overall overall wide receiver off the board if I had to guess. So I'm up again. I really like Luther Burden. I really, really do. So I'm going to pass on a whole bunch of guys, including David Njoku, and take my 6th wide receiver with Luther Burden. Swinging for the fences here. These rookies this late at 132 and 141 overall are, in my opinion, great values. And especially when we're talking about tournaments, it's way more likely with the situation Trey Harris is in. It's way more likely with the situation Luther Burden is in that they're going to have massive seasons when you compare it to Josh Downs, who's going to have, I know I just praised Daniel Jones, but I praised him as a good value at quarterback 33 for a reason. Josh Downs is going to, I think he's pretty talented, which is sad, but he's on the Colts. It's been a rough ride for him. It's probably going to be a rough ride for him again this year. So that's why I'm not really eager to bet on him. I also had Emeka Egbuka, who I think is going to be in a much more crowded wide receiver room. No disrespect to Ladd McConkey than the other two. And no disrespect for DJ Moore for that sake with Luther Burden. Rashid Shaheed, guy who can't stay healthy. And yeah, I hear Trey Harris got injured in college too, whatever. But a guy who can't stay healthy in the NFL, Rashid Shaheed, maybe that was just a freak, weird thing that happened in college with Trey Harris. We didn't see it throughout his whole career. So I think those 3 guys could easily be this year's, I mean, everyone says it's a cliche, but Puka Nacua, Ladd McConkey was sort of, I mean, he was going a little bit earlier last year than where we're drafting him right now. But Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas, guys you were drafting later in rounds that ended up winning you leagues, becoming bona fide wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1s in fantasy football as a rookie. And those are the guys that are going to hit for you. It's way less likely that Rashad Bateman, who I love this year, I've been drafting him a lot. It's way less likely that Rashad Bateman out of nowhere is just going to be an absolute demon this year, which is ironic because I might end up drafting him here if he does fall to me. Rachaad White got sniped from me. I would like to build a little bit more depth in my wide receiver room, but I think I'm fine because the way I'm drafting right now, or my running back room rather, my wide receiver room is going to carry us. So I'm really only thinking I need to start 2 running backs per week with this best ball lineup. So this is going to be a tough decision for me. Rashad Bateman is still there. Kyle Williams still also there. Speaking of flashy wide receivers, and Bateman goes. I probably would have taken him, honestly, for touchdown upside. But I'm going to take Kyle Williams. I'm going to risk it here. And I'm going to hope and pray that this guy does not draft Tank Bigsby, who I think will be the number 1 leading rusher on the team this year. And he does fall to me, Tank Bigsby. In ADP, average draft position, he's last place for this Jacksonville Jags primary rushing attack. In my heart and my soul, I think he could be the lead back. I think it's probably going to be ETN. I think it's probably going to be Tank as A and B, 1 and 2. And the rookie, Bashul Tootin, even though everyone's rooting and tooting about that guy, I think he's going to be a little bit of an afterthought in the realm of Kimani Vidal last year, where people were excited for him for no reason. For no reason they got excited about him. Jalen Milroe, just not a guy I'm gambling on this year. He's got some development to do, and I get it. He's got a really, really high ceiling with his rushing floor. And the guy I would recommend ahead of him would be Joe Flacco, which is ironic. But I just think Joe Flacco is going to start games this year. I don't think Milroe necessarily will. So a lot of teams actually who drafted early did a really good job not going overboard with the quarterback position. A lot of guys with only 2 quarterbacks, which is, scary. But It's fantasy football for you. So I've got 10 up in 10 picks: Hollywood Brown, Joe Flacco, Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, Zach Ertz, Pat Freiermuth. So I might be looking to bolster my tight end position with one of those guys. I really like Mike Gesicki. Don't overthink it. Just draft guys on good offenses, because when you're talking about tight ends, especially if you go premium tight end first, you're looking for a guy to have a couple of big 2-touchdown games, 9 reception games, just kind of a out of nowhere great performance, and you're more likely to get that out of a high passing offense like Cincinnati, even though you might argue, which is probably true, that Pat Freiermuth will be more involved with that offense than Gesicki. I'm going to err on the side of Gesicki and just hope and pray for touchdowns, which is what you're doing with these tight ends in the later rounds. Cedric Tillman also available. I'm feeling great about where I'm at. I can pretty much just take best player available. Outside of wide receiver, I wouldn't like to stack that position too much, but I will if they make me. I will if they make me. Also, by the way, Will Shipley sneaking up an ADP here on the queue. So I'll be targeting him, with Saquon getting the cover of Madden, him faking the cover of Madden. Not a good look. I'm thinking it might be Will Shipley season there by week 3. So I've got 2 running backs I actually really love here, Justice Hill and Will Shipley. I'll err on the side of Will Shipley, but I'll also love Justice Hill. Just drafting guys on good teams at this point. You might luck into a couple of touchdowns, and if you're super lucky, you'll luck into a season-ending injury, which it is devastating for the guy receiving it, but you got to kind of plan for those things. I don't want to make too much light of the situation of those things potentially happening, but if they do, you want to be prepared for it. And that's why they drafted Will Shipley with such a good draft pick. And that's why I'm going to draft him there in the 16th round. Saquon Barkley getting the Madden cover and then not drafting Will Shipley would be absolutely insane. I highly recommend you get all the Will Shipley you can, because I think he will be the lead back there in Philadelphia in the case that, God forbid, Saquon does succumb to the Madden curse and get knocked out. That title was interesting. It was definitely faked, which I don't think the football gods will shine brightly on. They used a pulley system to pull him up. They didn't even actually use an actual picture from the actual thing happening. They recreated it, which I think is the first time they've actually done that in Madden history. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments section, but I think that's the first case that's happened, which is honestly kind of bizarre. Weird move for the NFL, but was a sweet cover. Makes me interested in maybe buying the game, but not really. I haven't bought one since Antonio Brown was on the cover. So Spencer Rattler going off the board here at 16. I've been drafting him a little bit. I'm never over the moon excited when I draft him. Oh, Jarquez Hunter. If there is a Bucky Irving of this draft class, it is Jarquez Hunter. He's currently in best ball, going in rounds 16, 17 in Superflex. So I imagine he's going around the same area in good old fashioned non-Superflex best ball fantasy football. He could be the Bucky Irving of this draft class. It kind of matches up production-wise, efficiency-wise, between what Rachaad White and Bucky Irving were like and what Jarquez and Blake Corum, for what it's worth, versus Kyron. I think Kyron's days are extremely numbered in LA. I believe this is a contract year for him, and he's a guy I'm not really betting on. A guy I traded away in Dynasty. I've taken him here and there in best ball, but it's literally been maybe 2 or 3 times where he slipped down a little bit, and I was happy with my other positions at the moment. So now we're getting deep down in this draft, and it is a deep draft. It's 20 rounds, which maybe is another reason why people are kind of staying away from this style of best ball. But I am very excited. Speaking of incumbents, Woody Marks. He was a USC Trojan, and I don't know if it was because he kind of just played late at night or the Trojans not being very good this year, but Woody Marks is so good. Like, just turn on the highlight film. I've watched his every film is on Just the Tape, I believe, is the YouTube channel that his every target, every run is on. And I'm going to take, just like I said before, Blake Corum, a guy who could usurp, a guy who's getting a little bit of camp buzz right now, who could usurp or could take away a lot of Kyron Williams's attempts. They're looking for an explosive guy. Maybe it's Blake. I wasn't as excited about him coming out of college, but Kyron, just as a manager of him in Dynasty, he got a lot of touchdowns this year, and I don't think very many of them had anything to do with him. I think, like I said, his days are numbered, and if Blake Corum or Jarquez Hunter can be the man to step up and take over that position, I think Sean McVay's can put the best guy out there, and I don't think that's Kyron Williams anymore. So Mason Rudolph is available. Devin Neal looked horrible in camp, and like I said, he's going to be on one of the worst offenses, projected to be on one of the worst offenses in the league this year. You never really know at the end of the day. There are always like the Washington Commanders that just turn it around in 1 year, but I don't think the New Orleans Saints are going to be that team. So for that reason, I'm going to be not drafting any of Devin Neal or really anybody on New Orleans. Am I drafting anybody on New Orleans? No. I don't think I have any shares in anybody from Alvin Kamara. I'll draft Kamara. That's right. Half PPR. Bet your ass I'm drafting Alvin Kamara because there's no one else on that team. Gonna get another 100 targets again this year, which is great for this format. And he was efficient last year for what it's worth. Like he was pretty darn efficient out there. So guys, I'm looking late in drafts. You may have noticed I am wearing a Nick Chubb t-shirt, Cleveland Browns Nick Chubb t-shirt. He's not going to be on the Cleveland Browns. I think he's going to be on Chicago. And I think if he's on Chicago, he's going to be thrust into the starting role for the Chicago Bears. So Nick Chubb is a guy I am drafting a lot late. Obviously, I'm not reaching on him at any point. I would never do that for a guy in his position. But if there's anybody who's the exception of the rule this late in drafts, it's not Mason Rudolph. It's not De'Ami Brown. It's Nick Chubb that's going to win you these fantasy football tournaments. So when you're trying to decide between Jordan James, I think like a 7th round draft pick to San Francisco, it's going to be like maybe fighting for a roster spot, maybe playing special teams, over a guy like Nick Chubb, who could go to an awesome offense. They have a revamped offensive line. He could start day one for them. So I'm going to go with who's always been the exception to the rule, who has overcome injuries. Granted, that was about a decade ago, but I am going to go ahead and take Nick Chubb there with my last pick, and I'm going to keep doing it until further notice. Any day now, he's going to be signed now that we're past the June 1st. I think for whatever salary cap magic reason, a lot of people are expecting. Oh, I'm not done yet. That was just round 19. Conklin, Dylan Gabriel. I'm going to take my 3rd quarterback in the lineup. No one wants to believe. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is going, I think, like 5 rounds before Dylan Gabriel. I don't know if I can spot where exactly he went in this draft class, but evidently it was pretty darn early. Maybe you guys can see it. I can't. But I think Dylan Gabriel is going to get starts this year. It's going to be the Joe Flacco experience until he throws 3 interceptions or Joe Flacco, loses enough games. The Browns lose enough games for Joe Flacco to get benched. Dylan Gabriel is going to get a shot this year. Whatever people think, people are like hyping up Shedeur Sanders like he belongs. I think Dylan Gabriel sort of belongs as well. He is a lefty thrower. He swings a golf club righty, which is bizarre. Some people might call that freak athleticism. He has a great rushing floor. He's going to have to run in the NFL with that Cleveland Browns offense and that Cleveland Browns offensive line. I just think Dylan Gabriel is going to get the shot. So I'm going to be drafting Dylan Gabriel. I'm going to be drafting a lot of Nick Chubb late in these drafts. And you notice I only got 3 quarterbacks, but I got 2 good ones. And I only have to start, like I said, the way I built this team, I only probably have to start 1 quarterback a week is what I'm expecting. Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Dylan Gabriel, 17 game projected starter, 17 game starter, barring injury for both of those guys. And then Dylan Gabriel, who I think is going to probably play 8 games this year, if I had to guess. My running backs would be my weakest position, but I got a lot of guys late. Omarion Hampton, David Montgomery are my starters. I'm happy with that. Then Jordan Mason, Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, Woody Marks, Blake Corum, Nick Chubb, guys that are, worst case scenario, bench players, best case scenario. they'll be starters for their team. So a lot of upside guys there. And then I just got a rock solid receiver core: Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Trey Harris to pair with Herbs over there, Luther Burden, Kyle Williams is my last wide receiver, and George Kittle and Mike Gesicki. So 3 quarterback, 8 running back, 7 wide receiver, 2 tight end. And that's kind of how you go with the full. That's what you're going to have to do if you draft late. I have seen a big, massive run on quarterback when I am drafting late. When I was doing a practice version of this, Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott got taken before then. And then there was a big run on all those like CJ Stroud tier guys. And I was left without a quarterback. So I ended up stacking my quarterback position deep late in the draft. It definitely was not ideal. I would say this is a much more ideal situation the way this draft landed. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to see any other, I think we're gonna do a startup best ball mock draft for dynasty startup mock draft here in a little bit. So stay tuned for that. Once I get all my friends wrangled together at the same time, I'll be doing that. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to try Underdog Fantasy Football, you can use promo code JAMJKSHB if you are opening a new account, and you will get a little bit of a bonus for using my promo code. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.